Hello there, this is Laura, and I'm a prequel trilogy kid.
And this is Dave, and I'm an original trilogy kid.
Welcome to What Does Star Wars Mean to You? Dave's feeling a little under the weather, so I'm going to read the open today. The show where we talk to all kinds of fans of Star Wars to take the hate out of the debate and look at the franchise from a certain point of view, one fan at a time.
That's right.
Today's guest is Cris Macht. He's a documentary filmmaker and podcast host. He was an absolute delight. He directed the documentary series kind of highlighting his journey of Star Wars, which was The Force Among Us in 2007 and The Force Within Us in 2012. He may or may not be working on his third in the trilogy. TBD. Might have to listen to the interview to get some insight on that. But he examines the legacy and fandom of Star Wars in each of those films, which we really enjoyed. And he's also the host of the show The Macht Tales and a lifelong Star Wars fan. So kind of a perfect guest for this show.
Yes.
Should we go hear his story, though?
Yeah, let's go talk to him.
Yeah.
I'll do this in a very sick way. Luke, we're going to have company.
Oh, no.
Recording in progress. I am Big Brother, and I
built my R2 Lego. He's here now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. He's so cute. That was hard. It was a rewarding build, but it was hard.
I'm pretty sure I hit admit. Up there he is. I guess Zoom just takes a beat to let people in.
I'm working on my C-3PO, but it took me like an hour just to do one leg. And so I'm kind of like, this might be a like Christmas.
A couple day thing.
Yeah, like Christmas movie marathon day kind of thing.
Yes.
Might have to wait.
There.
Hi, Cris.
Hello, Cris. Welcome.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good. I hope you guys are not using video because I am not in my Star Wars place.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I'm in like the dining room.
I just love the reference to I'm not in my Star Wars place because it's almost like you're saying I'm not in my happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always in my Star Wars place in my mind, in my head, in spirit.
Yeah.
But as far as like the whole Star Wars setup like you got behind you, I am not in that environment right now because I have Uncle Buck for a laptop computer. And it just takes a lot to fire it up, and I didn't want to move it and all that sort of thing. But I was pretty sure you guys were just doing audio only, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
The video's just for us to converse. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm always excited to be on somebody else's show because usually it's the other way around where somebody's on my show.
Exactly. And it's so much easier just to react to questions than to like actively have to think of how am I going to guide this conversation? Yes.
And there's always as small of a scale an interview might be or a chat might be, there's always this prep work,
Yes,
always.
absolutely.
As you guys know.
Yes.
It's funny, when Dave invited me on for the second season of the show, I kept telling like friends, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be like co-hosting the Star Wars podcast. And I had a very like false perception in my mind that we were just going to be chatting Star Wars like once a week. I work on Star Wars daily because there's so much prep.
Yes.
And in no way am I complaining, but I did have to laugh at myself for like my naivete of like, oh, it's 1 hour a week.
Yes.
No.
Sure.
I think
1 hour a week is like 12, right?
Yes, exactly. It takes 11 hours to get to that 1 hour.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's a part-time job.
100%. A part-time job with, and you don't get compensated enough financially for it. At least I don't.
No. Like zero. It's a loss leader, I think is what they would call it.
Right, a loss leader. It's a tax write-off.
Yes, exactly. I like hobby because then it puts it in a certain area of life that people understand.
Yes.
Oh, I think hobby's a dead on. Yeah.
So the first question we always like to ask our guests is, are you ready to share with the world what does Star Wars mean to you?
Always willing and ready and open to talk as I wear everything on my sleeve.
Excellent.
I love it.
Let's start with 5 with the Force, and this is just a standard set of 5 questions we ask all our guests. Number 1, which movie is your guilty pleasure Star Wars?
Guilty pleasure Star Wars has got to be Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
as much as I say it's my least favorite, when I had COVID a couple years ago, I watched that movie for some reason or another 3 times in 24 hours.
I talked to a woman who was like in her 20s, and that was one of her favorite Star Wars movies.
Mhm.
And she's
I hear
like,
that a lot, yes.
it has everything. It has mystery, it has drama, it has love, it has action, it has adventure. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I mean, that convinced me. That turned me.
And it's funny, when I first saw that film, I thought it was the best Star Wars film that was ever released.
Awesome.
Upon the initial showing, but then as time went on, it was like, wow, this movie is definitely my least favorite. Aside from the Solo movie. But guilty pleasure, I would have to say, is definitely Attack of the Clones.
That's a great one. For this next one, I have to roll a D6. Let's see what we get. 2. Who is your favorite minor character?
Favorite minor character? Well, for a long time with the prequels, it was Plo Koon. Simply because it was a character that my younger brother, this would be my half brother, he is a episode 1 baby, right? So he kind of grew up with the prequels. He was the same age as I was when the original trilogy had come out. And he was really obsessed with the Jedi, and it kind of brought me back to my childhood with the bounty hunters. Boss, IG-88, Zuckuss, that sort of thing. And I really had a bonding experience with my brother Josh over these Jedi, and Plo Koon was just, he just looked cool. And I wanted to know more about him. I actually had a friend, a seamstress, make me a Plo Koon Jedi robe, and I bought a deluxe mask. So I actually have a Plo Koon cosplay. And this was years before Dave Filoni came out and said, Plo cool, right? It was cool to hear Filoni say that, because I knew I wasn't the only one that thought Plo Koon was cool. But I would have to say Plo Koon is definitely one of my favorite background characters. But then in Rogue One, there's so many great characters in that that not get enough screen time,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Number 3, do you have a favorite line to quote?
Oh, man, there's too many.
Yes.
There's too many, but one quote that I go to, and I'm mixing it up, right? I'm an OT guy. I love the sequels, love the prequels. I would have to say, and I might be paraphrasing here, but one is when Han Solo had said in episode 7, this was not how I thought my day was going to be. Along that line,
Yeah, yes.
I find myself quoting that more recently, but there's so many good ones. I mean, I feel like daily I am always referencing or quoting Star Wars.
Yes.
Another one, Han Solo. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. I don't know how we're going to get out of this one.
It's very relatable.
Empire. I feel like that is that daily struggle is real, and that quote definitely comes to mind a lot.
Han Solo is the daily struggle. Like, he's the everyman trying to get through a universe that has space wizards and evil empires.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's definitely the most relatable, simply because he's the more, like you said, the day-to-day man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you work in corporate America, anything the emperor says is relevant all the time. or even the imperial officers. The emperor's coming here? We should double our efforts. Besides the movies, what is your favorite Star Wars content? This could be toys, video games, books, anything.
Comics.
I gotta go. I gotta go to the toys. Simply because I am still collecting. I've been collecting on the regular since the spring of 1992. I just picked up the vintage Imperial shuttle last week. And I never had that as a kid, and it came out in 1984. So I would say the toys are definitely something that keep me engaged on a, if not daily, a weekly connection to the hobby. As we said, very, very, very important. But again, I feel like, just like everyday life, I have this sometimes, I don't know if I want to say love-hate relationship with my Star Wars collection, but I was downstairs yesterday and I just have so much stuff.
Mm.
So much stuff that it gets to the part where the collection becomes overwhelming and challenging as much as it's one of the Star Wars content, as you say, that I enjoy the most. The collecting relationship is a very, very complicated one.
Yeah.
It is. And I
is.
definitely want to get into that in a little bit because I think that's a big thing. I think that's something we all love. A lot of fans love and also struggle with.
Yeah.
Now, the final question for Five with the Force, this is one we always tailor towards our guests. Your bio says you're a big baseball fan. So if you were putting together a team from the Star Wars universe, who would you have on your team?
Oh, that is a great question. I would have to say, well, okay, so let's say 9 players, right? So
Yes.
I would still have to have, well, okay. I would have Melshi from Rogue One on, as well as
Great choice.
Cassian, for sure. I think those two would make amazing teammates. I'd have to say maybe Han Solo from the sequels as the manager.
Yes.
And, Mace Windu. Mace Windu would be on the team. You know what? I feel like this would have to require some thought.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I would have to have Leia on the team. Leia would be the bench coach for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think she's the go-to on keeping everyone together.
Yeah. Keeping everyone in line.
Yes, exactly. R2 would probably make a good catcher.
Oh,
Yes.
And he has rockets in his feet.
Yes. A utility player, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what? I would have to revisit that question. That is a great question, man.
Well, we can also answer that one on social.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, everyone should put together their fantasy Star Wars baseball team and shoot us a tweet.
I love that. I love that idea. That's fantastic. I might have to steal that one from you guys.
Please do.
Go for it.
But you have to say copyright. What does Star Wars mean to you every time you use it? What was your first introduction to Star Wars, and can you walk us through that experience?
Well, the very first introduction to Star Wars, I always feel like I'm reciting the documentary, The Force Within. It's my second film, right? Because I truly remember the first two things that I remember. And, the documentary is, over 10 years old now. And, as life goes on, more things occupy the mind, things get in the way. Is the memory still as fresh as it was 10 years ago? Yada, yada, yada. I would have to still say that the Tusken Raider was definitely my first introduction to Star Wars in the trailer. I also remember the disappointment, which this was not in the documentary, the disappointment of getting Snaggletooth action figure from my sister. And I think she simply had said there was no Luke Skywalker or Han, so I got you.
No.
And I'm like, okay, my family was big on shopping at the Osco, the Jewel Osco. It's a Chicago thing, Midwest thing.
Yeah.
It's like a Albertsons or
Gotcha.
One of those kind of stores. And as we got older, we realized that when we make the toy runs to the Toys R Us and the Targets and the Walmarts and what have you, Osco was not on that list because Osco and Walgreens do not have a lot of cool toys in stock.
Yes.
She might have gotten my toy at the pharmacy. That was a big disappointment. And I will never forget, too, when I first saw Vader on screen, when Han Solo comes into the rescue and Vader is twirling around in his TIE fighter, and how angry I was as a kid on how the villain got away. Those are my 3 earliest memories, and probably I would say those are quite my most memorable introductions to Star Wars for sure.
Yeah.
Now, in the documentary, you say in 1991 you kind of rediscovered Star Wars.
Yes.
What led you to it falling away? Like, let me put it this way: how did you interact with Star Wars on a daily basis when you were a fan when the movies were first coming out, and what led you to it kind of falling away?
Well, I would say what led it to me falling away was I've said this several times. G.I. Joe and He-Man
Oh, yeah.
really
Yeah.
killed Star Wars. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the toys were new, they were bigger, they were better. G.I. Joe had all this different movements in his
It's more
arms.
Yes.
utility.
And if
Yeah.
you
Although
think
your
about it,
articulation.
articulation, yeah. And when you think about it too, as a kid, right? So I was 10 years old in 1985, kind of started slipping away from Star Wars when I knew that the movies, there was no new movie to look forward to at that time. My mother
Right.
always told me that George had this grand vision to make
Yep.
these other films. And I was like, well, when and where is this going to happen? And obviously, it happened a lot later. I was too poor after my dad passed away. We didn't have a lot of money, and I was too poor to have the Transformer toys. So Transformers didn't take away Star Wars from me. But if you think about it too, in 84, 85, the Star Wars toys that were still trickling out after Return
Yep.
of the Jedi, they were no different. Those action figures were no different than they were when they first came out in 1978. They were the
Yes.
same kind of mold. They did not progress, where G.I. Joe did, right? G.I.
Yep.
Joe with, more articulation. I would have to say, from a toy standpoint, that's the reason why I fell out. Now, I do remember when the Ewok TV shows came out, I sparked a little interest in that. My brother had the Play School Ewok toys because he was born in 1980. So he,
Yep.
in 85, he was 5 years old. My mom was still kind of slowly still acquiring the Star Wars toys for us. But I got to tell you, I mean, I'd rather have a Snake Eyes action figure than a Gamorrean guard.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So that was a big part of it. And then I remember going to a KOA campground in probably 1985, and they screened A New Hope there. So I was, oh, wow, Star Wars. I remember this from not too many years ago. And then my grandmother, going back to the Osco store, my grandmother would pick up a couple of these action figures in like 1987 for like $1. Gamorrean Guard, General Madine, the
Yes.
tag
Yeah.
warmers. So it was kind of like still coming back, but it wasn't. So as much as it kind of trickled out, and I got into music and I got into girls, and my story in like 86, 87, 88 era is kind of like how some of the people that were 10 when, A New Hope came out, I was behind them, right? Because
Yes.
Star Wars came out when I was 2 years old. So I eventually just kind of turned into like a young teenager.
Yeah.
But it didn't take me much to get back into Star Wars. And it was kind of an important turning part in my life, obviously,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I never thought about it until you said it, and you're one of the first guests to say it, like first original trilogy kids to say this, is that G.I. Joe kind of dominated when it came out because it was glossy and new. And it was the exact same thing for me. I even made an announcement to my parents that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to collect Star Wars figures anymore. I'm going to collect G.I. Joe figures.
Sure.
So I think that's absolutely the natural evolution of kids in the 80s. Now, in 1991, you rediscovered Star Wars on a bootleg tape. I think it was Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Can you take us through that discovery, and then how did that re-engage you into Star Wars on a daily basis?
Well, I was a junior in high school, right? So just like everybody high school is a weird time, It really, really is. I think for everybody, we're all human beings. That's the one common thing that we share. Being a teenager is a very strange part of us evolving into eventually adults.
Yes.
And I grew up without a dad, right? And this is kind of an interesting thing. My mom had this deadbeat abusive boyfriend after my dad passed away. And I'm a strong believer in the butterfly effect, strong believer in that. And he had the ability to bootleg tapes. So in 91, he was completely removed from our family life.
Good.
But it was because of him. And I just thought about this until now as I'm kind of reprocessing everything all these years later. It was because of him that I had that copy of Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Bootleg on video.
Wow.
And it was, my bedroom was across the hallway from the TV room. I was playing video games. I was going through the tapes. It was just kind of like this weird thing. Like I was getting nosy. I was going like, hey, what do we got on video? I should really go to bed. And then I took it out and I'm like, Empire Strikes Back. Kind of like when I saw A New Hope at the KOA campground. I was like, I remember this.
Yes, yeah.
And it really took me back some way, somehow. I mean, everybody relates nostalgia to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
For those of us that are,
especially Star Wars on VHS.
Yeah, especially Star Wars on VHS. And you know what? Some of my friends and family that grew up on the prequels with the anniversary, especially with the screenings of The Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. These people are getting nostalgic about the prequels. So the nostalgia connection to Star Wars is relevant even to the prequels at this point. And later on in life, I'm sure the sequels. But it was one of those things that made me feel, how do I say this? It made me feel good because I remember before my dad passed away, and my older sister's like, yeah, mom and dad didn't have the greatest relationship. And I'm like, well, I don't remember it that way. That's not how I saw it as a kid. And obviously my life got very challenging after my dad left.
Sure.
And Star Wars was one of those things that gave me comfort. It was the comfort food for my soul that I needed at that time. And once I got a taste of that comfort food, it just continued to grow and blossom. And it's been a constant since October of 91.
Yeah.
What would you say is unique about the Star Wars fandom? Do you feel that is kind of relevant for a lot of the fandom, that we've found comfort in this kind of great myth?
I think my mom said it in the documentary too. She or I either said it, and I still stand by this. I do strongly feel like Star Wars means something. It's different for everybody. It means something different to everybody. Obviously, everybody's had a different way of how they got there.
Sure.
And you know what? Kind of crazy being a fan for as long as I have. And like Tracy Boyd had said, I'm a little bit of an ambassador.
Yes.
I would have to say that I've seen a lot of people come and go. And I've seen the fandom evolve so much. It's no secret, and it's definitely a subject for my third Star Wars documentary, is that there is this heavy negativity element in the current state of Star Wars fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I want to blame that on social media. I really do. I hope there's no other reason for it. Of course, people's different political views get in the way. People's different ideas of life get in the way. People being upset that George sold it to Disney, get in the way of that and kind of taint the fandom. I do believe that everybody has a different story, but it's Star Wars that seriously brings us together and creates this community and these new friendships. And I often think about the feeling that I had in the early 90s. A lot of people refer to it as the dark time for Star Wars fandom. I don't, because that was my rebirth of it. And I was very, very connected to a strong part of my life that I needed to have some healing with. And to me, that's not a dark time, you know?
No.
Yeah.
So when I talk to friends, when I talk to family, when I meet new fans and they say, there wasn't, sometimes I want to go back to that place. And that feeling, sometimes I get in tune with that. It's weird. It's like a copycat of nostalgia, right? I was nostalgic about Star Wars in 91, 92 from 77 to 83. And here I am nostalgic about 92, the feeling that I had of nostalgia. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but that's the best way I could put it.
It's nostalgia skipping stones back into the past. Each
It
time
really
it touches
is.
the water, it's a touch point of your life in relationship with Star Wars. It's almost like an anchor point.
Yeah, and sometimes I like to go back to
Yeah.
that. You
Yes.
know, the solitude of fandom then, as opposed to all the noise we get from the community now. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
have these friends that go on these Star Wars trips, and they seem to kind of bicker, and it's not even bickering about Star Wars. It's like they're friends that became friends over Star Wars, but they're
Yeah.
spending way too much time together now. Talking about other things, and they're bickering about that, and it's I don't know. I sometimes
I
solitude is a good thing.
Yes.
I feel like your observation about social media is probably dead on. One of
Yes.
the things I've learned through this show is that when people go to Star Wars Celebration, everyone's into it. It's like no one's arguing about The Last Jedi, whether it's the worst movie or the best movie. No one's arguing about whether Han shot first or not. It's just the celebration of Star Wars.
Yes, that's a fair assessment for sure.
And I think that says a lot. Then you get outside of that and you go into social media, and then that's where it's easy to hate on Star Wars. And I think that easiness is a factor that affects the fandom.
I think that, the kind of clickbaity world we live in online right now,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of like more negative kind of thinking gets more engagement, right? Because people, I think, are angry at a lot of things in life.
Sure.
And so they take it out on something that's maybe a little bit easier, and it gets a lot of engagement. And that's a toxic and vicious cycle as well.
Yeah, and we see that as obviously we're seeing that aside from just Star Wars, but I feel
Absolutely.
like if you're with
Yes.
somebody in person, you are going to read the room. You are going to not, spew all this venom out. And I
Yep.
think when you're hiding maybe not hiding, but when you're behind a screen by yourself, you have a
Yes.
very loud voice when you put it out into the world of social
Yes.
media.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
unfortunately, we do see that with Star Wars because Star Wars fans are super passionate. Star Wars fans, when I made the first documentary, even, I felt like everybody felt like they owned Star Wars. Going back to the baseball thing, it's like, oh, well, that team sucks. Well, you're not the manager of the team, you're an armchair quarterback. It's kind of like the people that are,
Yes.
crapping all over the Star Wars sequels. It's like, do you realize how hard it is to make a film?
Yes.
On a film on this level, it's like, man,
It's
True.
I don't people just don't think. I think overall, I don't know. I don't want to get into the anatomy and
Yes,
the
yes.
mindset
No,
on
sure.
people alone.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment on Star Wars Celebration. Yes, you were very right. When we're at Celebration, we don't get this social media thing where we're all fighting about this, fighting about that. I will say, though, that as somebody that's been to all the Star Wars celebrations in the U.S. and one overseas, and somebody that's been attending conventions before Star Wars Celebration, there are two Star Wars conventions that have really pumped a lot of life into my Star Wars fandom when it comes to going to conventions. There's this one in Nashville called ICCCon, and then there's one in Texas that's called Rebel ScumCon. And these conventions are just so opposite from Celebration in such a magical, positive way. And what I mean by that is you get so much one-on-one time with the actors. You're not this chop shop line where it's like, okay, thanks for your money, on to the next,
Yep.
on to the next. It's like a time machine going back to when conventions had that level
Yes.
of intimacy,
Yep.
I'm scheduled to go to Celebration for the 50th anniversary,
Wow.
but I'm not, I think I might say this is going to be my last Celebration because I found these two new conventions that are really, really hard to beat, and they kind of raise the bar for an old fan like myself.
I think those undiscovered, I don't want to call it undiscovered conventions, but those conventions that are still under the radar of the marketing machine is really good. I remember I went to Comic-Con in 2000, and it was, or even 99. It was a very different Comic-Con from 2010.
I believe that.
99, you could walk the floor and just walk up to all kinds of comic book creators. I had a conversation. I can't think of his name right now, but he was the creator of Ultimate Spider-Man in 99.
Wow.
He's also created, I'm blanking on his stuff. Powers is another one of his. Anyway, I just had a conversation and he was like, I'm really nervous about Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm not sure if it's going to be good. And I was like, you're a really good writer. So I have faith in it. And, it was a really big hit. And that's that feeling of a con that I really miss, is that what you're talking about, being able to go up to the stars and the creators and just have a beat with them, have a moment. Yeah. That's a fantastic thing.
Yeah. And it's still out there. It really, really is. And again, Star Wars Celebration's great. But it's a little too big, too corporate and too money driven, I think, for somebody like myself that has seen it evolve, I think watching something evolve, and we could say this about sports and especially music. It's kind of like seeing Nirvana at a small club, and then all of a sudden, before Kurt passes, it's like, they're kind of playing arenas at this point.
Yes,
And it's like, man, I remember before this scene kind of exploded. We missed those days,
Yeah,
there is a lot of comparison in those two fields of fandom for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. I do want to talk about the documentaries a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll give a little background. You have two of them. In 2008, The Force Among Us took a look at fandom of the Star Wars fandom. 3 years after the release of Revenge of the Sith, just to give it like a time and place. I think 2008 was definitely, while you filmed it, my guess is that the Clone Wars was still not on a weekly show yet, because I think the Clone Wars cartoon came out in 2008. I want to say August.
Yeah, we actually shot in most of it in at the end of 2006.
Oh, wow.
And it was released a year later. It was released in August of 2007.
Okay.
August of 2007. But yeah, the Clone Wars were not a thing. And during that time, it was very, very fresh that, hey, this is the last Star Wars film we're going to see for a minute. Maybe the last Star Wars film we're going to see at all.
Yeah. And then 2013, you have The Force Within Us, which is kind of a look at how fandom had evolved in the 5 years from The Force. And do I have that date right? 2013? I'm pretty sure.
Actually, 2012.
2012. I'm so sorry I have those dates wrong.
That's okay. Stuff out there on the internet might say different. But
Prime didn't give us the accurate date.
Know what? And I tell you, listing things on Prime was definitely probably just as hard as making the film.
Oh shit! Okay.
I don't know why, but they did not make it easy for independent hobbyists like myself to do this. It's funny. The Force Within Us, we started filming that actually happened quite quickly too. We started filming that in March of 2012, March 11th, 2012. I remember this because it was my brother's birthday, my Plo Koon brother's birthday, who I referenced earlier, and we wrapped that at. That was wrapped in Northern California, I want to say, in June. We shot that very, very quickly, very, very quickly. And that was a little bit of a kind of me cleaning up the mess that I made from my first film. Because, the first film, I still am not a fan of. And some people say, I like the first one better than the second one. And I'm like, what are you smoking, man?
What's your criticism with it?
Well, I think, one, it's my first film, right? And then two, I had no idea what I was doing. And it was my ex-wife's, my wife at the time, not, obviously my ex-wife now, as I'm happily remarried for 17 years. But my ex-wife's cousin was a Hollywood guy. And I went to him for some advice, and he's like, hey, let me help you make this film. And he's like, you're not going to have anything to do with the editing. And he was smart about that. Because he said, if you want to edit this film, we're never going to get it done.
Yeah.
I really trusted him with it. And I promoted it so much for years and years and years. I promoted it. I sold every single copy that we made. And I just, one, I didn't know what I was doing. Two, it was my first film. Three, there were so many talking heads in that film. And what I mean by that is there was not enough B-roll. And at the end of the day, my story, which was such an important part of it, was not told. So when I made the second one with my old childhood friend that we grew up with, he's like, hey, we need to do this documentary and tell your story.
Yeah.
And I really think that, and I don't want to come off as a narcissist or egocentric.
No, but that was the whole point.
I think that my story led me to the fan that I was. And actually, my fandom was the reason why I made these documentaries. I was looking for the next high as a fan. Like, okay, what can I do next to kind of keep Star Wars like, man, this is a lot of fun to be part of,
Yes.
As a fan. Otherwise, I would have I don't think I would have gotten out of it. But creating content, as you guys know, around this thing that we love so much, we have this day-to-day relationship with it. And it's really hard to just walk away from it regardless. Because it's a part of us, such a big part of us, Yeah.
It's like if you put the two titles together, Among Us and Within Us, that is what Yoda is saying.
Yes.
About the Force. Which this is a random quick question, but you mentioned a third movie. What would that be titled? If we
would be the Force Around Us.
Ah.
So again, a Yoda thing.
Yes.
And it was, what's funny, it was going to focus on filming locations, right? Because I've been to a lot of them. There's a lot more that I want to go to. But I think because my daughter's 11, we have a very unique relationship when it comes to Star Wars. She knows a lot about it, but she's not a fan of it. But she doesn't argue when I say, hey, they're re-releasing this on the big screen. Let's go see it.
Yeah.
And of course, myself with my parents, the relationship that I have with my daughter kind of echoes that a little bit, along with me and my half-brother, because that age difference was so wide. And then, of course, I cannot avoid where fandom is now, where it became. My friend Ian, that we do the films with, he said we have to really look at the evolution of fandom. We were started here, and we got to here, and we didn't really cover the evolution of fandom in the first two documentaries. So that's kind of the premise of where we're going to go with the third film.
Well, that's fantastic because it kind of leads right into our next question.
Yeah.
Because what I love about The Force Among Us and The Force Within Us is they are like core samples of the fandom in those times. And those are, I think they're very important times because as 2008 was a feeling that there may not be any more Star Wars. It's absolutely true. 2007 and then 2012, that's what, 1 or 2 years prior to the Disney sale. So it again has this feeling of no Star Wars, but the Clone Wars has established itself a little bit.
Yes.
And then just the evolution from Among Us to Within Us, you have fans talking about the original trilogy, but you don't necessarily have a lot of fans of the original or of the prequel trilogy, but you don't have a lot of fans of the prequel trilogy just because of age. But in the second one, you have enough time passes where it is this generational handoff of original trilogy to prequel trilogy. So, like, one of my questions, I guess I have a two-part question now.
Yeah.
Is the first
I think we both have the same two-part going on.
Yeah. How do you feel the fandom has changed in all that time? And your own opinion of the original trilogy. We talked about a little bit with your of your comfort movie being or guilty pleasure movie being Attack of the Clones, but how has your own opinion of the prequel trilogy changed from early 2000s to now? Sorry, that was a lot to lay on you.
No, that is a good question. Well, again, I have to say that where we are with fandom now is the Disney. I can't speak for this, which I think is great because even though I consider myself a hobbyist, I think if anybody's going to call me a documentarian, I think it's very important that I'm kind of, not biased. So I don't have an agenda. And I find it kind of fascinating that stepping back and looking at where the fans are now with social media as the division, because people are smashing this, people are bashing this, and people are saying, oh, Disney's got an agenda for this or that. I think that's where I see fandom now. And again, going back to, you know what? When fandom was quiet, even though everybody loves Community. That's what a lot of people love about Star Wars. I feel like a lot of people would not argue the fact that, you know what, if I was a fan by myself and I didn't have all the noise out there, that would not be a bad place to be. So I think that's kind of where I see the state of fandom now. And we didn't have that before the Disney acquisition, before Disney acquired it. I personally love all things Star Wars, even Attack of the Clones. Even though it is my guilty pleasure, it's still my least favorite. And with the amount of time that we have, which isn't much, and how limited it is, we do kind of have to pick and choose where we're going to spend our time. That is how I see fandom now. I do love the fact, though, that we are talking to people we're meeting people, we're connecting with people that are younger than us, that grew up on the prequels, and they have fond memories of it, and they have a lot of love for it. I think that is really cool that was my childhood. Come around,
Yeah.
I think, and believe me, as you guys know, that prequel hate was there. There just wasn't social media. We had news reporters, and we had Triumph the dog to bring us all the negativity. That was the state of fandom then, right?
But not for the kids. None of it ever touched me. It wasn't until I was an adult that I even knew that Hayden had received as much criticism, because I was so in love with those movies. I wasn't reading the news. I was just watching the movies.
Because you're a kid,
and
right?
playing with the toys. And but that's that, and so it's not until later that love, I think, is kind of reborn on the internet. I mean, I think Hayden's getting a lot of the praise that he has deserved for a long time now. And I'm just using him as an example, because those kids grew up and were like, wait, people didn't like you? You were my whole childhood. We love you. And I'm curious, I kind of have a three-parter to Dave's question. I know you mentioned that your daughter's she's kind of got maybe a tepid love of Star Wars. But I'm curious, I mean, it sounds like if she's around 11, that maybe her first experience with this kind of in-theater experience, because that's it, right? It's these things are so formed with what was your first in-theater experience. Does she have a predisposition for the sequel trilogy? Or are you finding that with any of the interviews you're kind of conducting now, any of the prequel trilogy kids? Are you finding that the sequel trilogy, it has that, but maybe isn't online yet because they're still children?
Yeah, I think it's more that. I still feel like the sequels are not getting the love that they deserve. I think, again, with the prequels, I felt like it took, 15 plus
20
years to come around, And I know you asked me too, what's my take on the prequels now? Is that correct?
Yeah.
You know what? I still love them equally, and I still find myself again kind of getting nostalgic about 92. I still feel some nostalgia for the prequels. I never disliked them. When I saw Revenge of the Sith in the theater, I saw that one. Okay, so here, put it in perspective. Episode 1, I saw 30 times in the theater in its initial release. Attack of the Clones, I saw 20 times initial release, and then Revenge of the Sith, I saw 15.
Wow.
Revenge of the Sith, I said that was my favorite film when it first came out. I can still say that today. So I still feel the same way about the prequels today. Than I did back then. I took my daughter and my wife to see it in 4DX.
Yes. That's so cool.
And my daughter looks at me and she looks at my wife and she goes, "Mommy, Daddy's crying. I'm like, of course. I tell you, that was my first experience crying at a Star Wars film was Revenge of the Sith.
I bet, yeah.
And now I cry at all the films. Every film, I believe, has a tear-jerker moment, but I feel like Revenge of the Sith was the one that really, broke the ice with the emotion. And I feel like that's why I love Rogue One as much as I do, because any film that brings me to the point of breaking down emotionally, to move me that much, I'm like, wow, this has got to be like on the top list of all the films, whatever.
Sure. Yes.
Not Star Wars films that do that to me too, and I'll never forget those. The Butterfly Effect, that film, that was a tearjerker as well. And it's like you never forget those movies that bring you to the point of emotional exhaustion.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. Do you think your tie to nostalgia to these films kind of put you in a place where it's easy to get more emotional about them?
That's a good question too. I think it used to be. It's nostalgia is a strange thing, right? Because when you first experience it, I think it's nostalgic because you had not experienced that in a long time, whatever it may be. And then once it becomes part of your everyday life, I usually say the novelty of nostalgia wears off. So the vintage part of Star Wars, I want to say that element of nostalgia has kind of dried up. Even though I love the vintage stuff, all the retro stuff, that feeling that I had of nostalgia in the early 90s for it, it's not there anymore. And I think that's why it might be easier for me to get nostalgic about the prequels.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, where did the last 20 years go?
Yes.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's at least my take on this.
I think that's a wonderful answer of how
you asked if it gets me more emotional to it. Like when I got emotional from Rogue One, I don't think nostalgia necessarily had anything to do with that. I just think it was being immersed in that world and seeing all these people die. That was like, wow, and those characters were amazing. I would probably recruit a lot of those for my baseball team.
Just that whole team makes up half your team.
I was going to say Clea. I mean.
So I do want to ask real quick, pivoting a little bit, but why do you think people become collectors? Why are so many people avid collectors?
I don't know if I can speak for everybody else. I don't even know if I can answer that fully for myself. Okay, so one of the things that I'm focusing on now is the last few pieces that I need in my vintage collection, which is, and I'm always asking myself, why did it take I had 30 years of opportunity to complete this. Why am I still working on it? Maybe it's my ADHD. I don't know. I feel like, too, when I go to conventions and toy shows, when I'm a sucker for a bargain, and when I see like something where I'm like, oh my God, how can I pass up a Black Series figure for $5 when they sell for $30 in the store?
Yes.
Why not acquire this stuff? And then I find myself selling some of the collection that I acquired a long time ago because, one, I don't have the space for it. I'm making space for the new stuff. Or one of those things where it's like, wow, I bought this, but I really I'm not connected to it, right? Some of the stuff that I'm buying now, I might feel like that later on. Like it's just evolving door. It really, really is collecting for me anyway.
I can definitely relate to that.
And then, of course, we think about like, wow, we can't bring our stuff to the grave with us. And my wife's like, look, my wife tells me that she has to die before I do, simply because I feel like losing my father at 7 years old. I've been dealing with death since I was a kid, so I can handle that situation a little bit easier. And I do not want my wife to just have a fire sale.
A garage sale.
Yeah, and she's like, look, you have too much stuff. You can't leave me with all this to deal with. And as humorous as it is, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I could say that people probably collect because they feel like it's something that they're connecting with,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
For example, all this stuff from the old Kenner line. It's something that we grew up with as kids.
Yeah.
Why do people need to reconnect with their childhood? I don't know. You guys know why I did. Why everybody else does? I don't know. I'm still seeking for that answer too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another doc.
I mean,
yeah. That'll probably be covered in the next documentary for sure.
I feel like I know when you talked about the Lambda shuttle that you just picked up from
Yes.
84.
Yes.
I immediately got jealous. I was like, right away, I was like, you know what? I need one of those. And like, that's one of the
James on eBay on the side.
Yeah, that's one of those toys that I never had as a child that I always wanted, and I feel like that's a little bit of part of it. And then there was something in, I want to say, The Force Within Us. It was one of the podcasters. It was the dad talking about how you have a piece of the movie in a sense that this is like, and that really resonated with me. I never thought about that before until like after I had watched The Force Within Us, I was watching Peacemaker. I'm just going to say what it is so that people understand. I'm watching Peacemaker, and I was like, I wouldn't mind having action figures of Peacemaker. And it just hit me as like, oh, I want a piece of that show as some kind of physical form. And what was said in your documentary just like came flooding back to me. And I just thought it was really a unique way to see it, and a really true way of seeing it.
Yeah, and I think that definitely is something that people can relate to as well.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said about Peacemaker, there's a lot of I'm a fan of a lot of different things, and I'm very cautious and very careful personally that I don't open all those can of worms.
Yes.
I have a baseball collection, I have a Star Wars collection, and I have a vintage music poster collection. And even those things, especially my poster collection, right? It has to be very, very focused, because if it's not, it just becomes this giant mess.
Yes.
It's true.
I see your Sesame Street Little People
Yes.
set. It's funny. I'm guilty about that because I grew up on that. I had that as a kid. I went to a resale shop a handful of years ago, and I bought that for my daughter. And I'm thinking, that's all I'm going to buy from my childhood.
Yeah.
Because I could see myself buying like all the Weebles and all the little people. It's got to stop. It's got to stop before it just gets out of control,
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, I think it's not having children. I'm going to hypothesize a little bit, but it must be hard to allow your daughter to discover her own things so that she has her own personal connection to whatever it is out there. And having said that, though, do you have a thought of the best way to introduce Star Wars to someone who has never experienced it before?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that. I would have to say that, speaking from my own experience, I think that's maybe why my daughter isn't a Star Wars fan. One, I think she really, experienced, not to sound crazy, but my wife had said this too. She's like, there was so much Star Wars in my world and in my life that my daughter absorbed Star Wars, baseball, and music in the womb. It's like she kind of came out as a fan in the beginning, if that makes any sense. She's really good about the music I listen to. She lets that on. She does like baseball on a certain level. But like you said, it's very important that kids have their own thing, that they have their own discovery and their own likes, because Otherwise, they're feeling like it's either forced, or two, it's not a part of their true identity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I would say don't force your kids to love Star Wars if they don't, because it's not gonna work that way.
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate that my daughter took a little bit of Star Wars through her childhood, and I'm glad that she's always been cool about letting me take her to see it in the movie theater. Because I feel like if she's a fan on any level later on in life, she can at least wave that flag like, I saw those movies in the theater. You know?
Yeah. With her dad.
I was gonna say,
with her dad, yes.
As a daughter myself, I will tell you it will actually mostly be that she did it with you.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that, I don't think I think about that, but that means a lot to me, because sometimes I feel like, you know what? Would my daughter, like, if something tragic happened to me, like my dad, would the roles be reversed and my daughter becomes this giant Star Wars fan because that reminded me of dad? You know, and then now she's, you know, I think about that from time to time, but I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about that because
no,
it's just too deep of a thought.
Yes.
Something that never come to, you know, never happen anyway. But, you know, you kind of wonder that. And I do think that it's important to let kids do their own thing. I think that's the takeaway from the question that you asked, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Another just quick random question. In The Force Within Us from 2013 or 2012, you said you hadn't watched Clone Wars yet. Have you seen it since? And what did you think?
No, I have not. Now, what I did do, though, was a lot of friends told me to stop whatever I was doing in that moment, stop and watch the Darth Maul Ahsoka fight in that scene. It might have been a finale episode. That scene that essentially led us right into Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
I saw that, but no, that's a funny question that you ask. Like, hey, all this time has evolved. No, I have not. I did start watching Rebels. Rebels, but for some reason, I was talking to my friend about this with other TV shows. It's like, you know, sometimes you watch something and you're enjoying it, but then you get distracted and you fall out of it, and it's hard to get back into it because you're like, wow, I kind of forgot what happened. I kind of forgot where I left off. I got to go back and rewatch. And I could be watching this instead of that. Rebels was fun to watch, but I just never finished it. You know? So, but that was the thing that I started watching instead of the Clone Wars.
I wonder if it's the I don't know. You'll have to tell me. I wonder if it's the animation factor of it all, because I was the same way. I've taken in like all kinds of other Star Wars before doing this podcast. Loved it all. Never did Rebels or Clone Wars because I was not a big like animation kid. Or cartoon, I should really say, like cartoon kid.
Yeah.
And then we started doing the podcast, and I was like, oh, I need to watch these, and they're fabulous. But like, I wonder if maybe that is that like possibly your version as well, that it's not as live action.
No, well, a little bit, right? Because I remember before the Clone Wars came out, George had said that they were going to do live action TV shows.
Yes,
and I got really excited about that. But a lot of people forget, there was an interview with George Lucas in Starlog magazine, late 80s, early 90s. I read it in the early 90s. And he goes, we're going to see new Star Wars, but it's not going to happen until 1997. And it's going to be boring.
Oh my God.
It's going to be about a lot. It's going to be very political. And which the prequels were very political.
Yes.
And two, I was like, I don't care how boring these movies will become, because I just want to see new Star Wars.
Yeah.
And 97 brought us the special editions, and I was like, he lied to us. Well, he lied to us again too, because when he said he was working on live action, we got the Clone Wars instead. I'm like, man, this isn't the first time George had done this.
Yeah.
So it was more about being burned. Yeah.
I think so because when they did the Getty micro Clone Wars series, remember that on Cartoon Network? I loved that. Absolutely loved that. And the Tales of the Jedi cartoon that are out now, I loved that. So I think you're right. I think it's about being burned.
All right. I appreciate that. I was just going to say, as a Swiftie, we too have been burned many times in the fandom, so I understand.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And you know what?
Easter eggs that never came to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I kinda, it's funny. Taylor Swift is bigger than life.
Yes.
That even though I don't follow her, I still hear about her.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
She's kind of like Star Wars, man. She's like the Star Wars of music. It's like, even if you're not paying attention, it still creeps into your life, and you still know about it.
No, she's getting up there with things like, what is it? Like the 3 most common or like known words around the world were like Coca-Cola, God, and I think it used to be Harry Potter, but I think it's now Taylor Swift.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say 100% because just my observation on her, just, not even following her, but just still hearing about her all the time.
Yeah.
But you can't avoid her.
She's ubiquitous.
She's taken over this podcast. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah. So to continue, Chris, on what does Taylor Swift mean to you? What didn't we ask you about Star Wars, or that you would like to say about it?
I got it. I don't know. I don't know because I think we covered some things that I had not covered on my own show, and that some things that I had not thought about in a long time, but that were deep in the psyche that it takes me being on your wonderful show for you guys to get me to get it out of me,
Yes, yeah, I totally hear that.
And I don't believe that happens all the time. One thing I will say is somebody that creates content. My show, Mocktails from the Cantina, focuses on my personal experiences with Star Wars. And it's one of those things where I don't like to do a lot of copy and paste, because I know there's so many shows out there that people listen to that are so much bigger than mine that I just I personally don't want to rehash the news that they've already heard 3 times.
Yep.
So I want to bring them content kind of just like we're doing today, that we're talking about what Star Wars means to us and how it's, how it relates to us on a day-to-day and personal level.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't express to you guys enough how many times where I think what Star Wars means to me too is it's such a part of my life that it means, I would say it means life in general, right? I mean, I'm at work and I'm looking for something, and right away I'm like, that's not it. Bring me the hydro spanner. Like
yes.
I go to Star Wars constantly. I drive this old car. It's a 2004 Hyundai Sonata with 263,000 miles on it. And it really is the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the dashboard, the power cuts out, and I find myself hitting it like Han does in the Falcon.
Yes.
So it's just, and one more thing that I would like, because I interviewed Roger Christian, the set decorator, that he won an Academy Award for working on A New Hope, and George brought him back to work on the prequels. His claim to fame is he designed the lightsaber hilt. And I had wonderful conversations with him on my show that he had said, because my thing is, okay, what was your first concert? I like to get into music with people. Because a lot of people know the Star Wars alumni, the Star Wars celebrities. Everybody's heard those stories a gazillion times. So when I have a Star Wars celebrity on the show, I always go so deep and throw curveballs left and right and get them to talk about stuff. They're like, wow, I never talked about that before. And Roger had said that the name of the artist escapes me, but the guy that he was into, the artist, Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen was the artist. It was his favorite artist of all time. And he said that every time he put on a Leonard Cohen record and when it came out, it would mirror his life. It was echoing his life. And I always felt that way about Star Wars. And I'm like, wow. And he just told me this when I interviewed him last month. And I'm like, that's exactly how I feel like my relationship with Star Wars is.
Yes.
Wondering about my dad's death, related it to the time machine and the Betamax, and then I'm like, okay, I can relate to Luke searching for answers about his father. Then when the prequels came out, I was in a very, very troubled marriage during episode 2 and 3. Anakin finds himself in the troubled marriage in the prequels.
Yes. Yeah.
And the sequels come out. It's about a girl. I have a girl that's already born. And so I feel like I'm still very, very much in tune with Star Wars that way on a personal level. And of course, we don't have to necessarily get into it, but Andor is kind of one of those life imitating art imitating life.
Yes, it
is.
Scenarios. And now it's not about me anymore. It's this big, 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 big picture, and it's crazy. And I would say that the prequels kind of, with the political element that George brought into it, it did echo life a little bit, but Andor's on a different level.
It wasn't as on the nose.
It wasn't as on the nose, yes.
I think absolutely
so.
right.
It was certainly was doing that, but not Andor's like, hey, we're not going to let you ignore this.
Yes, and I think too, I think the thing is that some of this stuff, if not all of it, is happening the way, maybe I'm naive, but I feel like it's happening organically. And I feel like it's kind of difficult to time things up where they make sense to a T.
Yeah.
But Star Wars has the power and the ability to make that happen.
Yeah.
Not only in real world, but obviously in my own life too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that's just such a part of my life that I just can't. Walking away from Star Wars is like walking away from my own true self.
Yes. Yes.
Something that's shaped me, something that is
it's almost a core value to you.
Yes. Yeah, hands down. And I don't think that there's a lot more that I can say about what Star Wars truly means to me. What I do get, interviewing a lot of fans, interviewing a lot of celebrities, I do get that the community aspect of Star Wars is it's like the number one to a lot of people.
Yes.
And it is hard to ignore that. And then the flip side is there's a division within the fan community as well. But that's still community.
Yeah.
A divided community is still a community, right? It's the yin and yang of the group of people,
It's kind of the heart of a democracy in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was too big of a metaphor, but
no, I think Star Wars is a large enough myth that I don't think any metaphor is necessarily too big.
Too big.
Yeah, and Star Wars is larger than life, and I think I always look forward to new Star Wars stuff, but I don't, again, like with baseball, I don't pay attention to the off-season hot stove, they call it hot stove news, because it's, my wife has always been like, that's like a locker room, like you're like a bunch of girls in a locker room chatting gossip,
Yes, that's what it is.
I don't like to speculate about Star Wars because I feel like if I personally do, it could lead me up for some disappointment. And I think that was when I heard that Rogue One was coming out, I said, well, how are you going to make a movie without the Skywalker family? And two, I'm like, how are you going to have a film score without John Williams? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention to this. And I didn't speculate and I didn't follow it. I saw the trailers and that was enough. And then when I saw the movie, it went right up to number one for me. And I feel like when I speculate and get caught up in the hype, it does set me up for disappointment. I know that new photo with Ryan Gosling just surfaced.
I saw that.
I'm excited, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I know.
Because when I see it, I want to get blown away by it. I want to be like,
on water, and I was like, dude, can I is there any? I don't think there's been anything on water before.
No, it didn't even look like a Star Wars photo. Yeah.
I know. I was like, what planet are we going to meet? I'm so excited.
There's been the water planets like in Camino and
sure.
But this looked like they were lost at sea kind of thing.
Literally like pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, if we go back to, all the teaser photos that we saw about the prequels, I mean, we saw a lot of photos that were so deep cut that I'm like, where the hell was that in the film?
Yeah. Well, I think the best line from any of the trailers and the most resonant for me and the one we should all live by is Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi going, this is not going to go the way you expect.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like, and I 100% agree with you that speculation is the root of disappointment.
I think it is.
And I always say, don't tell me about what the plan is. Show me the trailer. And when you have a trailer, let me see it, and then I'll start getting excited.
I don't want any PR. I don't want the press circuit, junket. Like, I don't want cute little stories from set until after the film's released. Like, I don't want any of that publicity.
Totally.
Like, I literally want to go in blind.
I think that's the best way to do it. I don't know, maybe because I have the other hobbies of music and baseball too. I think that I find myself balancing the fandom sometimes. Like when the baseball season's over, I'm like, okay, now I can really go back and spend all my time with Star Wars and music. And vice versa. When the baseball season starts, my Star Wars fandom might take a little bit of a back seat. But I think when people are just, when they consume it, you know what? This is a thing. I don't think everybody needs to know all the fine details about everything, especially when it's a hobby, right? It's like, if you absorb it too much, you're going to be living, unfortunately, by that Luke Skywalker quote. This is not going the way you expected it to be,
Yes.
And think about it. When we were kids, when the original trilogy came out, we didn't have all that. We had the toy. The toy was the one that said, hey, this character is going to be in the new movie. If that, and I think, there's nothing worse than disappointment. And I think the Book of Boba Fett, I think that disappointed a lot of people because a lot of people had speculated that this was going to be the badass bounty hunter that we saw in The Empire Strikes Back. But it was more than that. It was different than that. It wasn't the story that they wanted to tell, which was okay with me. It's not my story to tell.
Yes.
It's the story for me to consume and enjoy, and talking to a lot of people as well. When I'm gathering content, I do hear from a lot of people, especially lately, like, hey, I like all things Star Wars. I know some people don't, but they don't have to. Nobody forced them to do that. Just don't shit all over it, kind of thing. Like, don't make it a negative thing. If you don't like it, talk about all the love that you have for your favorite movie.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
The toxicity is kind of contagious, and it just separates the fandom even more so. Really, really does.
Absolutely.
It's a good button.
Now, usually we end with what does Star Wars mean to you, but I think you've answered that
I think we covered
quite well. But there's one
beautifully.
question I always like to ask everybody. What are the top 3 elements that make Star Wars to you?
Oh, the top 3 elements that make Star Wars. Like when people say, oh, I saw Last Jedi, that had nothing to do with Star Wars. Yeah. And I saw it. I felt Star Wars. I don't know. That's kind of, I felt like The Acolyte, which was not a fan favorite. And the word on the street, I don't know if it's a rumor or not, but they canceled it because of low ratings. I liked it. To me, it felt like Star Wars. Oddly enough, Andor to me didn't. There was a little bit of Andor that did not feel like Star Wars, but that was all Tony Gilroy, because he said to everybody, everything you know about Star Wars, everything you think that Star Wars is, remove it from your mind and come to work, and we're gonna move forward from here. But it's still, at the end of the day, it still did feel like Star Wars. I think, man, that is tricky. The top 3 things you say, right?
Yeah. Whatever you feel just makes Star Wars. It's gonna be like the music, the lightsabers. I mean,
costumes is one for me, like to give perspective.
Well,
production value.
Yeah, but production value. I think it's very hard to have a Star Wars production, as much as they want to try, or somebody might want to try to get away from it. That Ralph McQuarrie had done some amazing concept work and design that was implemented by Lucasfilm from the early days of it, that it's impossible to get away from that. They've raised the bar. ILM had raised the bar so high, even for themselves. that it's one of those things where if you're going to do a new Star Wars production, it's impossible to get away from it. I guess from that standpoint, anybody that works on a Star Wars production is usually a Star Wars fan. And they bring their own Star Wars fandom into it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Whether it's acting or stunt coordinating or set design, concept artwork. For me, peel away the layer of the onions. I would say lightsabers, even though Rogue One didn't have it. Well, Rogue One did have a lightsaber. Darth Vader's lightsaber.
There's a lightsaber.
Yes, that's right.
The music, and again, Michael Giacchino did a great job with implementing some of the earlier works from John Williams.
Yep.
In his film score. And two, I still think it feels like Star Wars when it's on the big screen. As much as I love the TV shows, I would have to say that nothing is better than seeing Star Wars on the big screen, because that's what that original trilogy was intended for. That was what we grew up experiencing. Even though it was the Betamax bootleg that changed my life. So lightsabers, music, and big screens. That's my top three.
I like it. I like it a lot.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's great top three. Cris, where can people find you?
I would like to direct people to a website that is essentially the database for everything that I've worked on. It's called Machtverse, my last name, which means force in German, oddly enough, Machtverse, Machtverse.com. And it's really nice because my producer for Mocktails from the Cantina, the show that's on YouTube, and we have so much content on Patreon, that he had designed this website that was kind of a little bit like a virtual library. You go in and you just kind of click all these helpful links, and you'll find links on the collecting element that we talk about. I have a segment called Inside the Wampus Cave, which I take a very, very detailed look at things in my collection. We're about to release episode number 200.
Wow.
Of that. That's a video portion of it. The YouTube stuff is free. That's a monthly, once a month show. But the Mockverse is great too, because let's say, you're interested in behind the scenes on my films. You hit a link on The Force Among Us. You hit a link on The Force Within Us. You hit a link on the reality show that we did or whatever. And it'll take you to a list of everything that pertains to those film projects.
That's cool.
Very, very organized, very easy to navigate. And then my favorite, something that I'm proud of, is all the celebrity interviews that I've gotten. I think it's at the end of the day, I'm a fan, and I think there's nothing that really tickles my fanboy side than talking to the people that have, Star Wars alumni is what I like to refer to them as.
Yes.
And get into
good reference.
Get into, what Star Wars means to them and how they feel about being involved in the franchise and, their first introduction to Star Wars. I feel like your show and our show that way is very parallel as far as getting deeper into the questions, you know? And I think that, like you said, that's great data to have, because when we're dead and gone, the content that we've captured, that's going to be there for fans for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true.
And I think that's an important part of preserving Star Wars. Star Wars is hitting 50. Does Star Wars need preservation? Does it need to be preserved? Eventually it will. I think right now they're doing a good job of it. But the fan side of it, I think that needs to be preserved.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like you said, capturing along the way these moments of time that are behind us now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important to get that in the can,
And I think the fandom is a history, and that history tells a story that is relevant to where we are today. And I don't mean that in a political way. I just mean as a fan of Star Wars, this is our journey together.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's be honest. The fans really had made the franchise become what it is today.
Yes.
You couldn't do it
Yes.
without the fans, you know? I mean, how many great movies have you seen where they're kind of lost and forgotten about because they don't have the community and the fan base to kind of bring it to the next era of our lives, you know?
Yeah.
The fandom, the Star Wars fandom, and then going back to the positive side of community, I think it's really helped the franchise become what it has become over time, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So all those links will be in the podcast show notes. So if anyone wants to jump down and hit Mockverse or your YouTube link, they'll be there.
And people can join Mocktails from the Cantina on Patreon for free. And there is a link at the top of Mockverse that you need to use to access the paid content for free. Because if you just click free member on Patreon, you're only going to get, you know, so much access, you know. But if you do the free 3-month trial, and the nice thing about that is they don't ask you for your credit card information. So it's like there's, you know how you got to cancel out of your free trials?
Yes.
It's something that you don't have to cancel. You don't have to worry about it. You know, you just type in, you want to join for free and let it ride, you know?
Awesome. Well, I'm going to sign up today.
Yeah.
Chris, this has been a I loved talking to you about Star Wars. I love talking to you about your fandom. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank
I
you
love
so
talking
much.
to you guys too. I love talking to you guys too, and it's always great to connect with people on the same level for sure. And I feel like this was a long time in the making. So thanks for making the time to have me on your show. I really appreciate
we're excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. May the force be with you.
Morgen der Macht mit dir sein.
Bitte.
That's my super high tech, like where Dave needs to cut. Like, super sound.
Right? Like that. That's the out, right? That's the out.
Yeah, that's the out.
That's the out for Dave. So he's like, okay, and end.
And edit.
Yeah, thanks again, man.
Thank you. This was a blast.
I love talking to people that are able to pull some stuff out of me that I don't necessarily, you know, get a chance to do. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole point.
I get it.
Thanks for letting me get it out.
Of course.
Yeah, send me the link to the show, and I will share that amongst my social media. It's funny. I'm only on Facebook, and I should be on everything.
Not anymore.
You know.
Yeah. Go where you're comfortable. I'm not on Twitter anymore. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I'm not comfortable on Facebook like I used to be either.
Yeah.
No, it's a thing. Yeah,
it is. It's a thing, and it's a true. The daily struggle is real.
People.
Sure.
Yeah.
The daily struggle is real for sure. I'm glad you. Thank you for your kind words. We really try to talk about Star Wars from the point of view of like, how does it reflect? How does our what is it? What are the bigger things? Like how do we learn bigger things about life via Star Wars? Is all it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
you know,
and
the deep stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff, yes, yeah.
The deep stuff.
I think I'm not a super huge fan of him. My wife is, but man, the guy can just get some great conversations under his belt. Howard Stern does a great job of just like off the holy crap. How did you think of that question?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that's what intrigues the person that is having the conversation with him, and that's what gets the interviews going. Wow, you know what? I can't wait to the next interview.
Yeah, something off the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need more of that than we do. Like, hey, how was it to hold that lightsaber in your hand? You know, and
well, that's
it's been on beginning. It's been on video.
From the beginning, I was like, I don't do recaps. We don't do like watch-alongs or anything. It's just more about like the deeper meanings of
we occasionally
Star Wars
do
and what does it reveal about yourself.
Yeah, we could sometimes do like how did we react to this, but it always leads to something that's like
it always leads
world.
to Taylor Swift.
For sure. No, I think that's great.
That too.
Great. You know, I think that's the way to do it because there's so many people out there that are doing rewatches and recaps.
Yes, yeah. And it's just like, who gives a fuck what I have to say about it?
You know what? I kind of feel like that, you know? About myself, like who fucking cares what I do have to say, you know?
People do.
But I also think his reflection,
thank you.
I think the three of us also would not listen to just like, and this is the plot to the Time episode of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was really funny when he said this. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's good, but I'm not interested in rehashing it in a public style.
Yeah,
God, I'm dark right now.
No, I don't want to throw shade at other podcasts either, but I have a deep hatred of this is probably too deep. That's too strong of a word. I have a deep dislike of the screening reactions. There's a few podcasts in the Star Wars fandom that I do listen to because I'm curious what other creators are talking about in the world of Star Wars.
Sure.
And I want to support the shows, but there's a few that get advanced screens for like things like Andor, for things like Acolyte.
Oh, there's shows that get advanced screenings.
Yes, and like the podcasts.
Yeah,
and they respond to the screeners weeks before people in the public have access to them. The episodes don't release until they're public episodes, but like it's always like clear that they've recorded this before the world is taken in Star Wars, and like. Sometimes that first take is not the one. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's something about it that feels kind of like disconnected from the rest of the world, and I don't really like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's true.
I always do feel like Star Wars. See, here's the thing about the movies. It's great because I feel like they always need to be watched several times.
Yeah.
The thing that I find myself struggling with the TV shows is it is hard for me to, like, as much as I love The Mandalorian, that's a big commitment to go back and rewatch it.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's
32 hours.
So much.
Oh, my God.
I can rewatch a 2.5 hour movie quite easily. I can probably watch 2 today.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're only going to get through so much of all The Mandalorian in a weekend on a rewatch. And, you know, watching Skeleton Crew, it was during the holidays, and that's my fourth love is the holiday season. I actually have a Christmas collection and all this stuff, but I was really behind in the Skeleton Crew, and I found myself binging that, and I loved the binge because I did not have to wait for the week.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just love the continuous watching, and I'm like, wow, I should do this with all the Star Wars TV shows, you know?
I agree.
But then you got to watch out for spoilers and all that. And
it's hard to navigate life without seeing the spoilers.
Yeah, go back to that Taylor Swift effect, right? It's like
yes.
It's like you're going to hear about it even if you're not following it. You're still going to know what happens.
Yep.
Biggest spoiler that I found myself, and this goes back before the internet. A big fan of the music, obviously, and Episode 1 soundtrack comes out a week before the film, and
that's right. Yes.
In the back, Qui-Gon's Noble End. I was like, oh man,
yes,
he's gonna die. You know?
Oh my God, what marketing exec approved that?
Exactly.
Well, John Williams titled it. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they did a really good job at trying to keep it as discreet as possible. You know,
I just don't think I mean, like, if you look at the history of Star Wars spoilers, like, the novel came out well before the movie came out. Like, the movie novelization came out a couple months beforehand.
Yeah.
There was a talk somewhere in England, like in 1979, where David Prowse says, "Oh, I'm Luke's father." And it just didn't get anywhere. And then I think that Qui-Gon reference may have been like one of the last references of a spoiler through content, like through marketing materials, or I think they brought a lockdown on it.
Yeah, crazy how different things are now.
Yes,
when we get them versus how they were back then. And if you think about it too, the internet was pretty new back in those days. It was around, but still not everybody had it, in 99,
No,
it wasn't it was one computer in our den, and we had to dial it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, now it's on our phone, right? You know?
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, thanks again for having me on the show, man.
No, thank you.
I would like to have you guys on my show.
Yeah,
Would love to do it. Would love to do it.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. We'll get you to on the YouTube live show if it works in with your schedule. But if it doesn't, we'll do a podcast instead. You know.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm sure we can find a time. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Are you guys based out in California?
We are in Seattle.
Oh, in Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you born and raised?
No, my dad was a Fed, so we moved a lot. But he retired here, and so my husband and I came back so we could be near family. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, my uncle lived my aunt and uncle live out there now. They used to live very close to Seattle. I used to go to the Bumper Shoot Music Festival.
Yeah.
I went there like 3 or 4 times in a row in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Wow.
And Seattle's a great, bless you. Went to I saw the Jimi Hendrix grave out there.
Oh.
That was probably like 40 minutes outside of Seattle.
Yeah, I'm about 20 miles north. I'm in a town called Edmonds. And then Dave's out like kind of a little bit more in like a wooded, nicer area.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my family remember they
it's not nicer, just rural.
They live in a very strong Swedish community. Which I don't probably about 2 hours from Seattle.
Leavenworth?
Oh, yeah, Leavenworth sounds like it might be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. You guys know that area better than I do. But yeah, my uncle's been living out there for a long time. He used to live...
There's a Bavarian village out there.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a touristy thing. But a lot of people live in the area.
It's like Christmas town. Literally,
it's Christmas every day.
Yeah, because my sister, I just moved here like 3 years ago. I lived in Los Angeles for about 25 years and then moved here. And just went to Leavenworth. We went during the summer because I fucked driving through the snow. And but there's a Christmas store.
Not that
24.
Bad.
It is. It's snow.
I'll drive you.
Okay. Well,
if you were in LA for 25 years, a little bit of snow was probably like, oh my gosh, I can't do that.
I know. I lived in Vermont. I'm being an asshole.
Pittsburgh, so
yeah. No, sorry, you were saying.
Anyway, there's a store there that's nothing but like 10,000 square feet of just Christmas decorations, and it was the best thing because I'm a big Christmas fan myself, or a Christmas ornament. Like, yeah. I mean, I forget what show you were on, but I was watching it, and you introduced yourself like, I'm into baseball and Christmas and Star Wars, and I was like, besides baseball, yes.
Huge Christmas guy. Yeah, we for like the first 3 years. We would do these really big Christmas shows for mocktails on YouTube. The first one too. It was like a Christmas variety show, like during the pandemic. I'm like, let's do this up. You know, it's crazy. Yeah, I'll set up a time for you guys to be on my show.
Great.
Yes,
I'm so sorry. I have to jump. I just got a text that they're turning the water off in the house, and I have to wash my husband's scrubs before tomorrow because he has no work clothes. And I'm like, didn't know we weren't going to have water in our house today, so I need to go and like quickly run.
Go
I'm
so
sorry.
You guys.
No, this is great, Chris. Yes, we would love to.
Thank you. To meet you. Take care. You guys have a good weekend.
Dave, I'm going to run and do that.
Yeah.
Later.
Go. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.